as you can tell, this nice little picture at the bottom is sort of pre-pandemic Dan. And this is what pandemic Dan looks like. So it's pretty scary. People often ask me whether I sort of grew my beard during the pandemic. And it's not so much that I grew my beard as I just stopped shaving. So I'm not really sure that's the same thing. One sounds like it has an objective where the other one just happens. And that leads us into the pandemic, right? So with your organization, did it just happen? Or is it something that you have control of? Your employees would love to believe that you actually have control of what is going on during this. This will come out wrong, but I was privileged to work with some large organizations here in Canada during the H1N1 virus, right, in 2009. And we did business continuity planning with them. And I have to admit, a lot of these slides are taken from 2009. When COVID hit, the people I worked with in 2009, they did not miss a beat, because they had their plan in place. They knew what was going on. They had control. It was just like another day at the office, except your office is now at home. So this is what we have to get your organization looking like, even if it's just a perception, giving people the perception that you are in control, you're doing things. That's what we're looking for. And that perception is going to be very important for customers, as well as your suppliers, as well as your employees. So let's have a look. Technical there. I can click that. There we go. So what exactly is COVID? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about business continuity and what exactly is the business continuity plan. Things have to change. I think you know this, but I'm going to give you some guidelines on determining what needs to change, how we're going to do the changes. I'll give you a few immediate actions for you to take home and to do. And that's immediate actions. That's not actions a month from now. The sooner we get this done, the better. Talk about determining your business priorities. And that's a tough one. Years ago, I was working new product introduction, and we had a product that had 28 features. And my team said, Dan, can't do all 28 features. So I said, no problem. Went back to the marketing team and said, you need to prioritize your features. And they refused. They said, we're not going to do it. And I said, oh. I said, why? They said, because as soon as you have it prioritized, you're going to drop the bottom 4. And they were right. Right? So they refuse to prioritize. It's the same thing in your organization. You're going to have to prioritize your business and then drop the bottom 4. Now, the trouble with that is people make a living off that bottom 4. So it's a little bit of a shift. People have spent time and energy developing that bottom 4. But in these times, I really think we have to determine our business priorities. And then you got to put a framework around this. The beautiful thing is this project. We don't really know what the end result is yet, which sometimes we know on our project, sometimes we don't. But we have to put a framework around it. We have to know what's at impact. We have to manage the risk. And then we have to put the change in play. And the change in play is going to get your resources, get your people to have the skills of October 2020, not the skills of September 2019. That's just not where we're going. We have to move forward. We have to make progress. And then your job, which is the hardest one, is leading the change. Now, you've already shown it by being here on the webinar today. So I give you credit for that. I think it was Harvard, that's over here in North America, but Harvard Business School did a thing years ago that said only 3% of university educated people actually spend time and energy to improve their skills. That's pretty sad, you know, and that's not talking about the boss sent you on a job or the boss sent you on this. This is people taking the initiative to do that. So I already think you're in the top 3%. You're already the edge of the sword. So I give you guys credit. So I know I'm talking to the right people today. So what is COVID-19? Okay, my best Donald Trump impression is I'm not a doctor, so I don't really know, okay? But I do know that it's people, it's droplets, you know, 6 feet, masks. I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we're in what's called the Atlantic bubble here in Canada. Our 4 Atlantic provinces don't let anybody from the other provinces in, and no one internationally in. We're in a bubble, and it's worked really, really, really well. Everybody's wearing masks, everybody's doing stuff. So we've had good success with this thing so far. Having said that, part of doing that is 85% of our people are working out of home, right? So it's changing the way we're doing things. Now, COVID, it's at least 2 waves. Sorry, this is obviously no outside because it says the second wave is this September. Yeah, we're already here in Canada anyway, and especially in the States, hitting that second wave of putting that in play. And that's why this is good timing for this webinar. It's because as we're going into the second wave, we need to give the perception that we're in control of what is happening. So even though we might be 25% down in staff, and these numbers come from a whole bunch of different places, but 25% down in staff, a 6-week period where we might only have 50%. I mean, these are things that unfortunately are part of life. So what we've got to do is we've got to figure out how to make our organization continue business and give the perception, not so much that we actually predicted this, but that this is noise. I mean, yeah, it's happened, but it's noise. We do a slight shift. Now, for me, I have to be careful how I say this. It's been pretty good because about 50% of my business was in class, and my in-class business was international. So I was flying all the time. I was away from home. I've got 5 kids, da, 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 da. So I wasn't really happy flying around. The trouble is people were paying me like really good money. So as a result, I travel around. I wanted to go virtual. And I kept pushing my customers saying, you know, we can do this virtually. And they go, oh, no, we want you in the class. We want to be able to hug you and stuff like that. So this has shifted my business to 100% personal. And I'm really hoping that I never have to go into a classroom or a meeting room at some dingy hotel again. That's between you and I. So the shift in your business, it's almost like we have to take advantage of this because this is part of the new normal. H1N1, you guys remember that, 2009? There are still deaths on a yearly basis from H1N1, which means with COVID, there's going to still be deaths in 2030. This thing is here sort of to stay. So what we have to do is adjust our business with this new normal, the new constraints. You know how it is on projects where you try to deliver something by the 1st of December, but your plan says March the next year? It doesn't fit. So if your business is trying to do something by the 1st of December, whereas the resources say March next year, yeah, it's definitely not going to fit. Now, leadership side on COVID, and this is where you personally come into play here. Stress is a choice. And you may not agree with me on that, but that's fine. Because I'm sure you've seen situations where something happens and all sorts of people are totally stressed out and all sorts of people are not. With regards to COVID, you have to be one of those not people. You can't be stressed out by this because as a leader, your team follows you. You get stressed, they get stressed. So what we have to do is show that we're in control, show that we're making things happen, show that we have a vision for a month, 2 months, 2 years from now, and our team will follow. So that's really what we're having a look for. Now, one of the key ways to do that is continuity planning. I'm sure you've run into challenges where you're putting together a project management plan. And people are saying, look, this is an easy project. Don't worry about it. We don't have to document how we're going to manage this thing. But hopefully you know as well as I do, a project management plan is a key document to communicate to people that we have the project under control. Continuity planning is doing the same. We're trying to show that we have the business continuity under control. Now, the thing about these viruses, and they're coming more than we want, it's about the people. We have to change the way that the people do our business. Now, when I was first starting doing this, I was mentioning the fact that it is the people, it's not the infrastructure, it's not the computers. I'm working out of my home. And I think if I look at all the houses around me, there are people working out of just about every house around here. The internet keeps dropping. And we've called Eastlink, and they keep saying, well, there's too many people doing stuff. It's a residential area. So the infrastructure has got impacted, but it's the people that we're really having a look at. So simplistically, what we're doing is we're moving from being what we considered normal. The pandemic hits, and we've got to get to the new normal. This is going to come out wrong. I'm disappointed that it took a pandemic for people to change. We should be going to a new normal every day. It would be very sad if today was exactly the same as yesterday, or if 10 a.m. was exactly the same as 9 a.m. We have to continually adjust. Now, what the pandemic has done is it's forced people to adjust. Those people who were set in their ways and, oh no, we can't change the brand of coffee. This has forced the issue. But I'm of the approach, continuity planning is continual. We should always be making adjustments for sure. Quick story, when we lived in China for a while. And yes, I've been to Wuhan and I've been to all that area where all this started. But anyway, when we lived in China, there was a CCTV 9, a television station, CCTV 9. And it would have a half hour of news and a half hour of Baywatch, and a half hour of news and a half hour of Baywatch. And that's basically all you got on this station 24 hours a day. There was a commercial. Two gentlemen from South Africa. They're in New York City. If you know New York City, it's got Times Square. And they're looking out their hotel window and it starts to snow just a little bit. So they run outside into Times Square and they're dancing around in the snow in Times Square. And the New Yorkers are walking by them, looking at them going, what the heck is this all about? And the message that comes up at the bottom is, when was the last time you did something for the first time? And if you think about it, that's pretty cool, because sometimes we get set in our ways. We get very standardized. We get very bored. And it actually became, I wouldn't say the motto of our family, but at supper, I turn to the kids and say, so what did you do for the first time today? What have you done today you've never done before? The pandemic is making us do stuff we've never done before. Some of this stuff we sort of like. I like this virtual thing. I can live with this. If I never have to leave this room again, I think I'd be a very happy person, right? So what is the new normal? Now, during the pandemic, we've made adjustments. We've changed the way we're doing our business. And I know you've gone through this probably every day. Is this now the normal way of us doing business? So there are certain things that we were forced to do that we should probably look at and go, okay, this works. Shopify here in North America, they sent their people home and about 2 months later said, don't come back. We're selling the office. We're selling this stuff. You're working out of home. This is the new norm. It's working. Right? Some people probably don't like it because they can't yell at the people over the cubicle on the other side. But there's a lot of things that are our new normal. Wave 2 of the pandemic is going to hit. And that means we're going to have another new normal. So don't get too comfortable in your new normal, because it's only going to be valid for a very short period of time. Let's see, where's that list? Yeah, so we had SARS in 2003. We had the bird flu in 2006. We had the H1N1 in 2009. I know something happened in 2014 that I just can't remember the name of it. And then we had this thing hit us. I'm a firm believer there's something else coming in 2023, 2024. That's just the way the world works. We'll still be dealing with COVID, adjusting to our new norm, and something else is going to hit. And for me, when I look at this list, it seems that with our global environment, each time it seems to be just a little bigger globally. Now, if your business is planning to be in business in 2023, 2024, you have to start planning for it. You have to start doing it so when this thing hits, you give the perception of, yeah, saw this coming. Don't worry. We've got our act together. So I've got some questions on here, and you can pull these off the slides later, but it's sort of things that I want you to consider, right? During the pandemic, were there new resource needs? Was there new training needed? Did you run out of paper? Did you all of a sudden have to give internet to people in their homes? What happened? What resource needs happened during the pandemic? And did these resource changes work? i.e., are they going to become part of the new normal? Right? Now, the other part is your organization set up to incorporate these needs? And what I mean by that is, do your policies and procedures support people working out of home, being on Zoom? Like, what are your policies and procedures? Because the one thing that has to happen soon is an adjustment of our organizational infrastructure. Because while all of our rules are from September 2019, the team's going to say, well, I can't do that because our company policy is old and the company policy doesn't apply anymore. So let's get the company policies and the infrastructure updated for the 21st of October, 2020. Now, there's bad news on this. It's going to change on the 22nd of October, and again on the 27th of October, and again on the 29th of October. But that's okay. Your team has to feel that they are working within an organization that has current processes. So is your organization set up, or are they still waiting to get back to September 2019? So business continuity plan, I know I'm preaching to the converted, because it's a project management plan, is basically what it's all about. Now, with business continuity, we're not looking to maintain business. We're looking to stay in business. This stay in business might be our new norm, right? So what we have to do is we have to figure out what aspects are important to us and which ones are not. Now, there's good news. You've already identified the knots, because when this happened, there were certain parts of your business you stopped doing because you didn't have the time, you didn't have the energy. So there's certain parts of your business that someone high up said, yeah, we're not doing that right now. So the question is, should you start redoing that? Probably not. Let's get rid of it. So what we have to do with our continuity plan is, can we stay in business with less people? How do we do things with less people? And one thing that really bugs me, restaurants here in Halifax are doing it. And I do go to restaurants, I have to admit. I've got my mask on and all the tables are, that sort of stuff. Every now and then one of the waitresses comes by and says, oh, sorry, we weren't able to do that because we only have 4 staff now. And, and she's apologizing where she shouldn't be, because this is the new norm. Like, I don't care how the restaurant ran 8 months ago. I care about how it's running now. So don't be apologizing for not being September 2019. Now, like the project management plan, this is a communication tool. If I have a business continuity plan and I have little posters on my wall to say, hey, to see the business continuity plan, go to our website, it gives confidence to people that we have our act together. And that in time of crisis, we're still going to be here. I'm sure you ran into the same thing that I did. when all this happened, we didn't have a clue what stores were open or which ones were not. And we were a little amazed because there's this bookstore, which between you and I is really old and gungy, but my wife loves it. She loves old books. It was still open. And we were a little shocked at this, dusty old bookstore. And the owner said, I just decided I'm still doing stuff. So I give them credit because they had a continuity plan. Now it is a plan. And like our project plans, it will change the first time someone talks to you. And that's okay. That's what plans are all about. But it's important to have a plan. So my question to you is, does your organization have a documented, it might not be a business continuity plan, but do they have something documented that says in times of crisis, this is what we're going to be doing? Because if you do, when wave 2 hits, you're not even going to say, okay, people, let's go to plan B. You're going to say, okay, people, let's go to plan A. Let's do what we had planned to do. And something I'm going to be reinforcing, do your junior employees know what it is? It's one thing to have this documented, but if it's sitting in the CEO's locked drawer, it's not much good. So let's communicate, communicate, communicate. Now, with your organization, basically the why your organization exists should continue. So you have a vision and mission. Why does your organization exist? So I do training. Our emphasis is project management certification. So we do the ACP, the PMI-PBA, the CAPM, the PMP. And our vision is to help organizations get their people certified, to strengthen their project management capability. The products and services have changed a lot. As I mentioned, I used to go into classrooms and things like this. I used to do those 5-day courses. Not anymore. We now do 10-week half-day courses. I just started doing one-on-one coaching when this hit. I can still do one-on-one coaching virtually. So our products and services have adjusted, what we offer people. And our methods and plans have definitely modified. Now, the thing is, the methods and plans, like activities on a project, are done by your team. And the team should be the one that you get involved in changing how your organization does business. It gets them committed to the overall plan. They don't want some senior executive saying, oh, now do this and now do that. They would much rather they define what they do and then they do it. So trying to get people involved in the low-level changes, the methods, the plans, in my view, is very critical to getting things in play. If the why has not changed, as people do the methods and plans, there's the roll-up. They make what they do on a daily basis contribute to the vision and the mission. Now, again, it's one of those things that unfortunately, I know a lot of organizations have the vision and mission, but they're in the CEO's left-hand locked drawer. So this is where the strategic plan, open communications have to become just a little bit better at your organization. So does your organization have a documented vision and mission? And again, do your junior employees know what it is? Because quite honestly, every decision they make on a daily basis should align with that. So some immediate actions that I'm recommending, and these I mentioned come out of lessons learned from the H1N1. So these are things that organizations succeeded put into play, right? So establish a team. Doesn't have to be a big team, but needs to be cross-functional. Every person in the organization should feel they're being represented so that they know that in time of crisis, their job is somewhat protected. Then what we're going to do is you need to give it authority. You need to give it money. It would be nice if it was on an org chart. That would be very cool. And then you also want to designate a leader or a champion. Now, here in North America, I think you guys know New York State. So in Canada, we get the New York people on our TV, okay, the US people. There's a gentleman, his name's Governor Cuomo. He is the governor of New York. And he's on every day talking about numbers, what they're doing, getting New York State. New York's done pretty well. And he's very articulate. He's very good. He'll run for president in about 4 years, okay? So he's a cool guy. But every now and then people ask him questions. And you can see him sort of, there's this young lady who's sitting just off to his left that sits forward and starts saying on the 17th of October, we did this. And then the 3rd of February, we did this. 27% of the people did this. We issued our da. She's got the details. She's the one I want as my leader and champion of the business continuity planning. I don't want the governor. I want the person that's got their fingers into everything. And with a little luck, maybe that's you. So don't get someone who's really, really busy. Get someone who, yeah. So by having this team, it gives the perception we're in control. And the nice thing about that is when something happens, your employees will go to this team and say, what do I do next? Now, I realize that for wave one, we're being reactive in putting this in play. But for 2023, 24, getting this team in play is very proactive. So that's what we're looking at. The other thing it does, it creates awareness that things are changing and we like change. Your organization should be changing on a daily basis, right? That's really what we're looking for. What have you done for the first time today? So by putting this in place, it shows things are changing. We know things are changing, but we've set a direction. And the business continuity plan will make sure that our organization is moving in the right direction. Does your organization have something like this, or do they have a designated change manager? Somebody that has responsibility for guiding the organization. Now, it might not be a person. I know a lot of times organizations have steering committees and things like this, and they're steering where the organization is going. And the other question, of course, is, do your junior employees know who it is? Do they know in times of crisis where to go to find out what's happening next? Because I was shocked at how many people I talked to and say, so what's happening with your company? And they go, I don't have a clue. That's not good. So we need to get control and show people that we actually know what's happening. So by knowing our business priorities and getting people aligned to the business priorities, it should be driven by our strategic plan. So we made a decision in my company, I guess about 1.5 years ago, that we were going to focus on certification. Because admittedly, we were doing project management fundamentals. We were doing MS project training, which I'm really good at, but I hate doing. You know, I don't like doing tools trainings and stuff like this. So we made a strategic decision, certification. That's it. That's what we're going to focus on. So now I do turn down business because every decision I make is driven to that. So for your organization, do people have that feel of what is your strategic plan? What are your business priorities? Why does your organization exist? Because otherwise, when they're trying to decide whether to spend time on A, B, or C, they have to know which one has the greatest impact on the strategic plan. Now, if they don't know the strategic plan, they'll do the easiest one. Sorry, not your people. Your people will do the hardest one. My people will do the easiest one, okay? So what's going to happen is as our team drops from 10 to 6, we have to make decisions on what should not be done. And the things that should not be done are those things that have the limited impact on our strategic plan. Now, I know you guys know that 80-20 rule, and you PMPs are going, I hope I never see that again. But yeah, the 80-20 rule says that 80% of our business is basically coming from 20% of our effort and 20% of our products or services. If you're trying to get back to September 2019, you're trying to get back to 100%. 80's not bad, you know? If I could have 80% of my business from last year, you know, I don't think I can complain about that. I know greedy people are, no, we want 100, we want 120. But for business continuity, our first thing is stay in business. And if we're spending time and effort on things that are not providing the best value to us, that is not good. Okay. So the business priorities probably shifted during the pandemic. And I'm not really sure they should have, but they probably did. So I'll give you a quick example. I'm in Scouts Canada, and we had an Atlantic Jamboree 2020, and we were going to have 6,000 youth here in Nova Scotia in 2020, worldwide, in July. Guess what? Didn't happen. Okay. Now, in our planning meetings, we were focusing on cost. Every decision we made in creating the Atlantic Jamboree 2020 was cost driven. After we canceled and we moved it to 2021, now our driving factor was, let's make it happen. We have credibility on the line of whether we can ever do jamborees again. So cost was not the driving factor. And you've probably had some adjustments as well, whereas keeping your team motivated, keeping your team in play. So what were your priorities pre-pandemic and what are they now? Was there a shift in your measure of success? The other thing that's happened is our customers' business priorities, customer value. Maybe our products and services, first of all, have to change because we're doing business differently. But we have to change because, we have to change because our customers doing things differently. So that we have to take into a play as well. So you guys probably recognize, I think I pulled this from my project management plan slide in my PMP training, right? Because that's the framework. That's really what we're trying to do. Now, ideally, this management plan should be part of the overall strategic plan. It really shouldn't be a separate concept because this plan is trying to make sure we stay aligned with the strategy of the organization. Now, with any management plan, this is unique to you and your organization. What does your team, your customers, your suppliers need to see about you to give them confidence that you are going to be there in times of crisis? Because I'm sure you ran into a few situations where some key suppliers weren't answering their phone as soon as everything happened. And these were things you needed for Tuesday and you used to get for Tuesday, and they're just not there anymore. So we don't want to do that to our customers and our suppliers, at least our core business. Maybe some of that frilly stuff, but not our core business. So we're going to treat it like a project, right? So when I put together let's try it again. When I go into an organization and work on business continuity planning, a lot of times they don't know project management. So this is a very key slide and they're oohing and awing at this. I know this is boring you guys, but it's just going through the checklist of what's going to change with regards to our organization. And according to a lot of things, it is in the team, right? The resource management, communications, using suppliers. That's really probably what's been impacted the most. So that means we have to revisit our practices, methods, things like this in order to get that into play. So when we're looking at what's at risk, uncertainty. Okay, I'm telling you right now, 2023, we're going to get hit. Okay, that's not an uncertainty. I'm letting you know now, that's a certainty. So the trouble is the organizations that were thrown for a loop with the pandemic, I have to be careful how I say this, probably should have known something was coming at some point in time. You know, this is the world we live in now. I mean, this stuff happens so quickly. And like I said, SARS, bird flu, H1N1. I know you young bucks are saying, what's he talking about? But for those who've been around for a while, did we not learn anything from those situations? So what we want to do is, I'm going to say it and then I'm going to take it back. We want to be in control. We want to be predictable. We want to be working from facts. We want to be committed. I don't think that's achievable. I don't think we're in control of anything. I don't think we can really predict what our organization is going to look like a year from now. I know there's facts on the internet of how many people are sick and how many have died and stuff. I don't believe any of those numbers because I've lived in China. I can't believe out of 1.7 billion people, they only have like 20,000 deaths. Okay. So facts, you get where my challenge is, but we have to provide information and put controls around, a management framework around, to give people the perception we're in control, we're predictable, we're working from facts, we're committed, we're planning for success. I guarantee that if your team thinks that you are panicking and unsure of what the organization is going to look like next March, yeah, stress. I mean, you have to give that perception that we've got our act together. That's what we're looking at. So I think that's where the greatest risk is confidence of the team. And you might know this, you can't motivate other people. You can only motivate yourself. And if you are motivated, other people will be motivated following you. Leadership by example. If you are confident, other people will follow you. If you have energy, other people will follow you. If you cry in the washroom every 3 hours, other people will follow you. Okay. So this is what we've got to do is, how do we want our organization operating? And then you have to kick in gear as a leader and start doing that now. Now, from a process point of view, what peeves off people a lot is where we used to have 6 people and now we have 4. And we're now doing the 6-person process with 4 people, like the restaurant I was talking about earlier. That really demoralizes people. Part of the challenge is some organizations, not yours, but others, are saying, oh yeah, but we're going to wait until we get back to the 6-person and then our process will work. On October 21st, you're not at 6 people, you're at 4. I need a process in place for today to give today's worker confidence what they're doing. Because if everybody's waiting, yeah, it will be 2030 and you're still waiting. Absolutely. So let's get our act together on a weekly, if not daily basis. Update to 4 people. And if we get 6 people, we update to 6 people. But I want to be able to say, this is our process you should be following. And it gives people confidence that we've got our act together. Right? So my question to you is, do you have any 6-person processes that are being currently done by 4 people? Or any in-office processes that are currently done by people from home? And your processes still require they swipe their badges, or, you get where I'm coming from. So this is where yeah.
Daniel, I was just going to say, somebody has actually commented here, and it's interesting because they've commented that this person in particular is actually still attending on site, and what's happening to them is that they're getting a lot of requests from people that are remote.
Yeah.
Can you reboot the PC for me? I can't get into it. Can you collect the post? Can you scan the post? That was never part of their old role. So they're, so the little things that we don't think about, the little admin that we all do in our daily roles, is where is it falling? And I think there's either people aren't aware that that's happening or they're ignoring it, essentially. So,
and it's a hard call whether to try to get people sort of to do it the old way or just accept the fact that this is the new norm. Right. And this is the new way of doing things. Now, what might have to happen is a little bit of time management, So years ago, and this might help this person. Years ago, I was overloaded and I was working a lot of overtime. I was one of those people. And I came up with a list of everything I needed to do. and I prioritized it. And what happened, my boss, Ernie walks in my office because I was his go-to guy and said, Dan, I need you to do this. And I said, great, no problem. So I said to him, I said, is this a top priority? And he paused because he knew I was lining him up. And he said, yes, it's a top priority. And I said, it's more important than anything else. And he looked at me and said, yes, it's more important than anything else. So I gave the list to him and I said, great, drop 5 things off the bottom and I will do it. And he said some things I can't say because there's young ladies on the call. But yeah, so what we're going to have to do is reprioritize the work we have. And perhaps there's some things that are part of this person's current job that are going to have to be dropped. If this is the new norm, this is something they're going to have to be doing to supporting the people at home.
Yeah, and you know, Daniel, I think it's probably important as well for that person to make sure that people are aware of it. Put it down in writing,
Yeah.
pop it to somebody in an email, make sure you're having your regular chats with your manager. I will speak for myself here, where often you take this on and you can get quite frustrated, but have I ever actually said, hang on, are you aware that I am currently getting 10 phone calls a day to scan someone's post, to reboot a PC? You know, that's okay, but are you paying me to do the admin work?
Yep. Yeah.
And as you just said there, what jobs are not getting done as a result of it? But yeah, just make sure that you say it out loud. And I guess it's going back, and I've written it down. Is everyone in the company aware of what the plan is? Is everyone in the company aware of what the priorities are? And it's the same here. Just make sure that people know that this is going on. And then when something does get dropped, and it will, you have something to point back to. Hopefully you have a manager that is better than that,
yeah.
that will support
you.
Well,
that's the thing. And if you don't drop stuff, you don't have to worry about going to home to your family because they're going to leave you. Okay. So
harsh but true.
We have to change the way we are doing things. Absolutely. Good thing. So, and I guess it falls into this. There are new constraints with our organization, right? So people are complaining about diminished revenues. Well, maybe diminished revenues is the way. I mean, maybe this is the norm. I mean, I'm not planning on doing classroom-based training, and it was a good revenue stream, but I'm okay with that, right? It is global, which means some of the people we used to go to for help, outside suppliers, they're not available. They've been hit as well, right? So this is a bit of a challenge. Our organization, I thought, had a great marketing scheme because we do work internationally. We've done work in Europe. We've done work in South Africa. We've done work in China. We've done work in Fiji. That's the place to go. And so we always did the approach that if one area of the world got impacted by some financial thing, we had other markets. This didn't happen that way. This hit every single market that we had. So not a lot of assistance, not a lot of staff. A lot are going to be out of home. People are not going to want to work overtime. They're going to dig in their heels because family has become important again. And unfortunately, some people will be sick. We are going to lose people. Okay. And hopefully not keep, I shouldn't have said it like that. Hopefully not keep people, but we are going to lose people. Everybody's key. And I know here in Canada, the government departments, it's insane. What used to take 2 weeks is now taking 2 months. And all the websites are not being updated. So the website says our office is on Hollis Street and we're open from 8 till noon. There's nobody there, right? You go knock on the door. So are these the new norm, right? So we have to figure out what is the new framework, the assumption constraints that we're working towards now. So what policies and procedures do you guys have that were most impacted by the pandemic, right? And maybe as the question sort of stated, maybe it's job descriptions. Maybe these job descriptions have to change around. I've been with a lot of organizations. We know that as an organization, we have to do all of this stuff. And personally, I don't care who does what, but sometimes we have to rewrite the job descriptions, which might be the situation there to say, is this part of my job description? right? So if things were impacted, did you change them? Did you come up with a new job description? Like you said, document it. My dad was a military judge, so I blame him for a lot of stuff, my binary thinking and stuff like this. But one thing he taught me is if it's not documented, it doesn't exist. So I am very much a document type person. So we want to get things changed. And are these changes part of the new normal? So we can't be complaining about how it used to be, and we're not doing that anymore. We have to be moving forward and saying, is this the way we're going to do it?
You know, Daniel, maybe just I think it's an interesting point. It might link to what you're saying there. Clive had a question here. Do you think that businesses will be more open to implementing disaster recovery or business continuity processes after their experiences with COVID, or are they likely to be more reactive than proactive? And I should point out to you that H1N1 didn't really hit us as badly as possibly maybe it hit other parts of the world. So in Ireland, COVID is the biggest hit we've seen in a long time. Maybe foot and mouth, guys, and that was just some small measures introduced in the airports,
Right.
really. But yeah, so that's just curious. Like, do you think that businesses will be more proactive about it in the
Well,
future?
this is going to come out very negatively, and I apologize for that. The people who are the organizations that were reactive aren't around anymore. Okay, so we don't have to worry about them. I think the only businesses that are surviving are the ones that are slightly proactive. And the more proactive they are, the better off they will be. Because these people who came up with business continuity plans in 2009 did not hit anything with this one. This was just business as normal. Okay. And I think that's what has to happen. So that's what I think is I do like the proactivity aspect. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to figure out what our 20% is, what is our core business, and work on them. Other stuff we are going to have to look at and say, should we continue to do this? And these are things that maybe the CEO said, oh, you know, we should provide this service to our customer, or why don't we do this? If they're not viable to our strategic plan, let's stop doing them and perhaps get some help, because there are organizations out there that doing that fluff thing for our company, that is their focus. So it's the old thing where you hire your weaknesses because you're hiring their strengths, right? My weakness is your strength. And that's why we need to cooperate on things. So maybe we can still provide this to our customers. We're just not going to do it in-house anymore. So what are your business priorities? What's your OBS? So I think it's on the slide coming up, and I know I'm running short on time, but with the OBS, it basically looks at the whole organization's business. You highlight the stuff that we do well, and then we revisit everything else. And it's a tough thing to do because we're going to prioritize them. And then those lowest priorities, I'm not saying discontinue them, but it is definitely an option. Now, once we have this updated OBS in play, that's where you want to get the team involved and do methods, change. How are we going to make this happen? And you go to the team and say, help me define our organization for March 2021. And I guarantee they will be enthralled with that. And then just like a good project management team, the business continuity planning team is going to roll it up, review it, collate it, see if there's any conflicts. Now, just like project, boy, this aligns so much to project management. Once we have our plan in place, what resources do we need? Because the skill sets that we needed in September 2019 may not be the skill sets we need now. So what we have to do is say, what resources, what does our resource usage look like? What's their availability? They probably aren't going to do overtime. They're probably not in the office. So I need to build processes that take that into account. Are there any unique skill sets? Now, this should be done anytime. And as I mentioned earlier, continuity planning, we shouldn't just be doing because of the pandemic. but are there unique skill sets that if this person gets hit by the $1 million bus, we're going to lose them and we're done. Sole suppliers. So try to get away from relying on unique people, unique suppliers, right? Our customers, we need to expand our customer base. So customers that go under, and some of them unfortunately are. Regulations. I guarantee there's new regulations, at least here in Canada, about distancing and masks and all that sort of stuff. These are laws that you have to follow. We have quarantine periods here, and I think that's sort of an international thing, but we have quarantine periods of 2 weeks if someone comes in internationally. So if one of you people from Ireland, if someone from Ireland comes into Canada, you have 2 weeks. If you violate it, and they do like checks every 2 hours, if you violate it, it's like a $2,000 fine. So, you know, we have to know our regulations for sure. And then we have to update our process, update our equipment. So my question to you is, what resource challenges have you had in the past month? And have you sort of made the adjustment that this is the way it's going to be? So new skills, we have to trust our people. We have to manage them in theory. Why? We have to make sure they have the latest technology. We have to make sure they're self-starters. We have to make sure if we don't talk to them for 2 days that they're not in their backyard just relaxing. Okay? And that's a bit of a challenge. I wonder how many people who are listening actually have pants on right now, but that's a side note, okay? I'm not telling you which way I'm going. What's that?
Surely pajamas anyway.
Yes, at least, yeah. So a little more innovative. Definitely, we have to have people that can work on their own. And unfortunately, I'm sure you're thinking of people that work in your organization that just aren't So I'm sorry to say this, but we have to get them updated. We have to get them the right skills. So did you discover any skills that your team was lacking during this crisis? Were there certain things that you had to all of a sudden go, oh no, no one knows how to use Zoom, right? And are you now incorporating them into the new normal? And that incorporation means, are your procedures, are your policies, are your methods being updated, right? So we need to train our people. Pandemic education, let them know 2023 is coming. Let them know crisis is not so bad as long as we can continue business, right? So I do realize some people are going to get stressed out. So maybe we have to improve our HR policies and our HR supports. There are a lot of people that are getting they're not dealing with uncertainty very well. Okay. The cross-functional training I find with a lot of organizations are very important, because if an individual with a certain functionality is not available, I want to easily be able to say, okay, you're up. Okay. You're now a hardware person. I don't know if that would be a nice thing to do to somebody, but yeah, getting them standardized, being able to prove capability. I think that's what's helped our business. We've seen an awful lot of our customers step up to the plate and say, we got to get our people certified in project management. Okay. So we want to update our processes, our communications, the improved supplier relationships I talked about earlier, in that, I don't know if you had challenges where you went to your supplier and you were not their top, right? And you didn't get your stuff because the government of Ireland needs it. So we've got to make sure that and then get our stuff ready for the next wave. So during this, was there training that was missing? Were there supplies that you were lacking and you were trying to get? I was kicking myself because I have a desk and I've got a plastic. I like the plastic on the desk so I can write on it and stuff like this. And I kept meaning to go and buying plexiglass. Then the pandemic hit. You could not get plexiglass anywhere because everybody's got them for those drop shields. I was not able. I bought it, I think, 4 days ago, finally. I've been looking for it for 8 months. So you have to decide what supplies you were lacking. And then with your policies and procedures, flexibility. They are going to change. Don't wait until they're all updated. It might not be a bad idea to start on a weekly basis going out and letting people know the new norm. This week, we've updated our whatever. Next week, yeah. If you can show that and show that continual improvement, I do think that will help. And you cannot over communicate, in my view. People want information. So making sure you get it out there is really, really important. So really just to finish off, some lessons learned from H1N1, see if this worked for you. This is a list from 2009, right? Communicate, but be truthful. Anything that makes things safer is good. Having a policy that if you're sick, don't come to work, and actually enforcing it. Physical distancing. Minimize shaking of hands, no more hugging. Okay. Stop using other people's phones and drinking out of their coffee cup and all those things and stuff like that. And one of the hardest ones I realize for some is staggering the work hours. Do we really need people working from 9 till 5 or whatever? And I know people argue that, oh, the customer needs to be able to get a hold of us and stuff like this. But I really think especially if you're on site, you can modify some of these. So this is a list from 2009, and I think it really applies today as well. And unfortunately, it's going to apply in 2023 as well. So let's get our act together now, learn from what's going on, adjust the way we do business. So when the next wave or the next virus hits, we are there. Okay, you need to take the leadership role. People have to get energy from you. You have to believe in this. So you have to go in to your organization and say, we need to put this business continuity thing in place. We absolutely need to show people that we have our act together. Now, if you don't believe in anything I've said, that's cool. I can definitely live with that. Trust me, a lot of people don't. Just ask my wife. Okay, so yeah, but try to pick a couple things and be the person to make it happen. Don't wait around for other people to do this stuff. Okay, now you know what I know, and I apologize for going a minute over. Actually, I guess I went 12 minutes over. But some people did ask questions, so I'm going to use that as my, we did a little bit of fast tracking. I think that's the approach. You're muted, Katrina.
Thank you. I will do what I always do for our members, and that is wrap up.
Yeah.
And I will let everyone know that, as usual, the recording and the slides, we will make sure to share those, because I think particularly the questions are very important. So the questions that appeared on each of the slides are very important. I've taken some of them noted myself.
Good.
And I do think you said it there as well, as make sure that things are written down, that if you're a member of the management team that are doing the business continuity planning, that's great, you've got some control. But if you're not, and we have project managers on these seminars that may well not be, so these are good notes to have as well, to go back, to get yourself involved, to ask the right questions, but more importantly, make sure that they are aware of what's actually happening in your new reality as a result of these changes, whether you're working in the office or you're working from home. I know from myself, and I saw it did come up as a comment as well on the Menti poll, that some people are perhaps not telling the full story of what some of the difficulties are of working from home, because, and I'll use my own case here, because we never had the opportunity to work from home, so we don't want to lose it. So you tend to maybe shine over and gloss over a little bit. So I guess maybe find a way to make sure that you are communicating the difficulties and are getting help with them as well.
Well, that's it.
We're just a little bit over. Daniel, thank you so much for that. It's very informative, and like I said, the questions have been extremely useful, and we will share, as always, the slides and the recording in the next few days, essentially, so everyone will be able to look back on that. In terms of your PDU, as usual, guys, will record it's a 0.5 of a leadership and 0.5 of a strategic PDU, so plenty more to add to maintain your certification. As always, we have more webinars coming up and more opportunities for you to earn PDUs. Thanks again for letting me know your comments in the Menti poll, because I will use that to help us build the schedule for 2021. In the meantime, before we wrap up, I just want to say something about the 5th of November. November 5th is International Project Management Day. And I can speak for myself personally when I say it's not something that we ever make a big deal out of or that we ever celebrate. And Jackie Glynn, the president of the Ireland Chapter, really wants us to mark the occasion this year. And we want to make sure that we mark it every year. Something that comes up time and time again in the comments in the webinars is how a lot of responsibility and work falls to us as project managers. And we're not necessarily always getting the thanks for that. And sometimes I suppose maybe we can feel a little bit stressed about it and a little bit like we're doing a thankless job. And part of this has come up time and time again is that we need to think about our branding and how we brand ourselves. We have manager in our titles, most of us do, and we need to make sure that we are treated with that respect and that we put our best foot forward, essentially. So we're having a live panel discussion on the evening of the 5th of November. So it's 90 minutes, so it's a bit longer than we normally do. It's about your career, it's about finding a mentor, it's about owning your brand, and it's about finding your tribe. And those are Jackie Glynn's that's her own phrase that she used when we were talking to her about this. So panel discussion, cool. We're going to have Tara Lockery Grant as our MC. Jackie herself will be on the panel. We'll also have Balaam Harvey from PwC, and we'll have Mark Donovan, who is a leadership coach. And it's an opportunity. They're going to talk about their experiences, how they've moved through project management as a career, how they've got to where they are today. And you're going to get the opportunity to ask your questions as well. And just, take that opportunity to be with a group of people who really see the career path of project management as something extremely important and something very valuable. So if you can't attend every single webinar, because we've got one at this stage is 3 a month, please try and make the time to attend this one on the 5th of November. I think this is going to be very valuable for all of you. So I guess that's it. And we've gone a couple of minutes over, but I do feel that it was absolutely very worth it. So Daniel, thank you again for taking the time to speak to us. And I think we've all learned, and I've certainly picked up some tips myself as well today.
Excellent. You're welcome.